Now that we have a target group configured and we have seen all its attributes, it is time to create and configure an application load balancer or ALB to point to it. Let's quickly visualize what we're about to do. We already have WordPress CC2 instances contained in a target group. We just created it. Now, we're going to configure an ALB or application load balancer to point to that target group. That way, when people hit the load balancer, the traffic will be evenly distributed among the WordPress instances. So, let's get to it. Okay, here I have our target group. Let's go to Load Balancers. Create Load Balancer. Here, as I want an ALB, Application Load Balancer, I select the Create button. First, I need to name my load balancer. In this case, I will call it ALBWP. From a schema standpoint, I want it to be an internet-facing ALB. Remember, if you have internal traffic that you want to balance, you could do an internal ALB. Also note that if you are using IPv6, it is possible to create a dual-stack ALB, supporting IPv4 and IPv6. In this case, I am only using IPv4. Further down in network mapping, we must select the VPC and subnets for the load balancer to route the traffic to the destinations. In my case, it would be the default VPC, and subnet say B and C, which is where my web servers are running. Therefore, to increase the fault tolerance of your applications, be sure to enable multiple availability zones for the load balancer, and also make sure that the destination group has at least one destination in each availability zone enabled. That is, launch your web servers in different availability zones. Then, in security groups, I will select from the list this one from AWS Lab and remove the other one. This one allows HTTP traffic from anywhere. For your purposes, you will need to think about your objectives and create the security groups accordingly. For the listeners and routing, I am going to leave HTTP on port 80. Then, in default action, I choose the target group that I created a moment ago. Remember that this target group contains my WordPress instances. Below, I have the option to integrate some additional AWS services to optimize my load balancing architecture. For example, I can enable web application firewall security protection behind the load balancer. This provides an additional layer of security to protect web applications from malicious attacks. I can also add a global accelerator. AWS Global Accelerator is a networking service that sends user traffic through AWS's internal network infrastructure, which improves internet user performance by up to 60%. Of course, this is also going to incur additional costs, so I will mark it down for this demo. And at the end, I can verify all the information I specified in the wizard. Everything looks good here, so I go ahead and click Create. Relatively quickly, I get this success message. If I go to Load Balancer, here we see that it is provisioning. Note that the ALB may take a few minutes to be fully configured and ready to route traffic. So, in the next class, we will see how to test our load balancer.